Welcome to the ninth seminar for English teaching professionals entitled Spice It Up, Innovative Activities for Your Class. Today we have the honor of hosting Angie Fonseca and Paola Serrano, distinguished educators who recently led an insightful workshop titled Celebrate the Oops, Strategies to Enhance Students' Language Skills Through Positive Error Correction. In this interview, we will summarize the key points from their session and discuss the importance of positive error correction in the classroom. Before getting into the actual conversation, I want to share some biographical information about our presenters. Angie Fonseca Quiros is an English professor at Universidad Estatal a Distancia. She holds a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language from Universidad de Costa Rica, where she also taught several undergraduate English courses. With over 15 years of experience, she has worked with a wide range of learners from children to adolescents and young adults in both public and private institutions. In addition to her academic background, Angie has extensive experience in business English, having worked in corporate settings as both an instructor and a language department supervisor, where she designed and delivered customized training programs. Her work reflects a commitment to inclusive, student centered teaching and curriculum design. Paula Serrano Vasquez is an academic supervisor of the English department at Costa Rica Christian School, with over 25 years of experience teaching English at preschool, elementary school, and university levels. Paola also works as a tutor and professor at Universidad Estatal a Distancia, where she supports students entering the English teaching major for first and second cycles. She holds a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language from Universidad de Costa Rica with a specialization in English for specific purposes. Her professional background combines in person and virtual teaching, digital learning management, and teacher training. She is known for her creative approach, dedication to continuous improvement, and commitment to building inclusive and engaging learning environments that promote academic excellence. We will now get into the questions we have for you to learn just a little bit more through this brief interview. So, my first question is, what inspired you to focus on reframing students' mistakes in the EFL classroom as a central theme for this workshop?
Or if I may start, I would say, well, thank you so much for allowing us to talk a little bit about our session. Well, first, I think our biggest inspiration was just being part of a classroom, both as teachers and learners. And I think when we talked about what we can bring to the table and present in our seminar, we thought about the fear of making mistakes, which we know limits participation. So, and that's a big roadblock in our classrooms, right? When we have a fear of participation because of making mistakes. So I think in the end that our goal was to shift that classroom culture to one where mistakes are seen as progress and not as roadblocks.
Thanks, Angie, and thanks, Tricia, for having us here. Uh, well, I will add that when we were preparing this, I couldn't take out from my imagination, from my brain, myself as a child, because I was that shy little girl that didn't want to ask questions because I felt like, what are they going to say? Or, so when I became a teacher and I started learning about affective filter and all of this, topics, that was like, oh, wow, that's important. And I have been experiencing this throughout the years um, with my kids, that if they feel safe, right? Um, and mistakes are part of the process, but if they feel safe, they are going to be learning better. So I think that's what inspired us also.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, and you've already touched on this a little bit, that safe environment, that supportive environment. So, how do you define a supportive environment in the language classroom? And what are some key indicators that can be identified in a supportive environment?
Well, if you want, I can go first. Um, well, for me, a safe environment, it's a place where I feel like it's okay to make mistakes, where I don't feel judged, and that I can just be myself, like be authentic. But I believe that this is something that you need to create it. It's not, like done just because it's there. You have to build it up. So I believe that's for me a safe environment.
No, and I would like to add that also where students feel safe to take risks. And you mentioned indicators. Well, for us, indicators will be where, when you see students helping each other, correcting each other in a supportive way without judgment. Also, that mistakes are visible and normalized, right? That is okay. You made a mistake, not a big deal. And also, a big indicator will be participation. We have students participating and not being afraid of showing what they know, right? So I think those are the biggest indicators.
Can I add
Thank
something
you.
else?
Go ahead.
Actually, when we were planning our webinar, one of the things that we thought about was if this activity it's about how to enhance students into language or communicative activities, we need to teach them, right, to that mistakes are part of the process and that they need to feel safe in order to participate, because if not, they are not going to participate. So we can create all this theory around, yeah, let's participate and let's do collaborative activities, and but if they don't feel like, like confident to make mistakes, they're not going to do it. So we also thought about that.
Most definitely. Thank you. Now I'm going to go on to the next question. Can you share a specific example of either a classroom routine or a mindset shift that can positively impact students' confidence when using English?
Well, for example, in our case, we modeled one activity that it's called Fix in Time. Part of the intention of this activity is to have, let's say, that fix in time in the class as a routine. So every time, for example, that we have a speaking activity, and it could be even with like a written activity, but the idea is that if we listen to them and if they make a mistake, we take those mistakes and we write them anonymously, right? So that they won't feel exposed. And the idea is that we show it to the class, and we will ask if they can find out where the mistake is. And but something that I really like from this activity is that we're also teaching them phrases where they can say, I don't know, I can see the mistake, because in this way, they're being vulnerable. And I think when learning a language, we're so vulnerable, right? And because we feel exposed because we're not as competent and as in our mother tongue, right? So that's why this special activity, we like it very much, because we consider it brings that routine into the class and helps students see mistakes as part of the process.
Right. And I would just like to mention that the outcome of having these type of activities like this activity that Pao mentioned is that mistakes feel useful, right? We can learn from them. So it's not just something I did bad, but that I can use to improve. And that was one of the biggest outcomes from this activity we presented.
Great. Now kind of changing the perspective from the teachers, right? In your opinion, what are some of the biggest challenges teachers in Costa Rica face when it comes to embracing student error as part of a language learning process?
Yeah. Well, we think that the biggest, we have a lot, but one of the biggest is that pressure that teachers feel because we have standardized tests. We need to prepare students for that. They need to be right all the time. And there's this pressure for correct English, right? Um, and also we also have that traditional training where we focus a lot on getting the structures right and do not make mistakes. And this, let's say, yeah, traditional training. That's just the way it has been done for a while. Those are some of them. Maybe Pau can mention more.
Yeah, maybe another challenge could be the size of the class. Maybe if it's too, like too big, it's kind of hard because you cannot correct all of them, right? And so you feel like, oh, how am I going to help all of them? But even though you make this little, activity, it will make a change at some point because they are going to be exposed to at least see their mistakes in some way. So yeah, I would say that.
Mhm. And so this takes us to our last question. How do you guide teachers to reflect on their own beliefs and attitudes toward error correction?
Well, in here, I would say I really like, I just forgot her name, Carol Dweck. Um, Her position, I mean, I like her topic very much because she makes a difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. And so I think in order to change teachers' beliefs, we need to think about this difference. And I think it's important if we start getting to know a little bit about this, because basically, when we talk about fixed mindsets, are people that think that if they're not good at this, they're not going to succeed, right, in anything. So, but the thing is that at this point, we need to start thinking more in growth mindset because in this way, we will see that there is always an opportunity, right, to make changes. And it's okay. We can make that mistake and it's fine. So I think that will be one of the ways we can help teachers to see and change beliefs, right? Like change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Yeah. No, and I was going to say that aside from that reflection that we as teachers need to have in our lives, in our teaching lives, also offer practical tools, something that won't take long or that won't be that time consuming. In the workshop we presented a couple, like for example, there's one called the Wall of Growth, which is very simple, just putting together a wall where we have there are mistakes visible, and how we can correct those mistakes, or the fixed cards, the fixing time that we mentioned before. So practical things that won't take long, won't take a lot of planning, and that become a routine of our classroom settings as well.
Well, I want to just thank you both, Angie and Paola, for sharing your insights on positive error correction in the classroom. Your expertise has encouraged us to create safe, supporting learning environments where positive error correction can enhance learning and promote inclusivity. For more information on the topics covered in this seminar, please visit our website. The details are available on the screen.